Hello, my name is Raj Shah, and I'm the managing editor of Desh-Videsh Media Group and Desh-Videsh Magazine. Today, we have a young and dynamic person as our guest speaker, Dr. Swati Trivedi. She is specializing in internal medicine. She was born in Uttar Pradesh, India, and her family moved to Aurora, Illinois, the far west suburb of Chicago, when she was 5 years old. She grew up in a household of traditional Hindu values, with her parents doing puja every morning and evening, attending Hindu society and Hindu satsang organization on the weekends. She was raised on the stories of Sri Rama and the Lord Krishna, and avidly read all the Amar Chitra Katha she should get her hands on. While attending a medical school in Miami, Florida, one of her classmates initiated a weekly Gita study group, which she and her husband, Bhagavad Trivedi, joined. Her classmate was the elder son of resident spiritual teacher at Chinma Mission Orlando Center. In 1996, he introduced the couple to Chinma Mission Brahmachariniji, newly posted in Miami. Pujya Swami Chinmayan's eloquent discourses with a specific scientific explanation of Vedanta had appealed to the intellectual seekers in the couple, and they have been regularly attending Chinmayan mission ever since. Also active as a Balvia teacher, Swati continues to learn from the profound wisdom of Vedanta through study groups on the Bhagavad Gita and other Hindu scriptures. Welcome, Swati. On behalf of Desh-Videsh readers and viewers, we'd like to thank you for taking a time to talk to us. We're going to talk specifically, we wanted to talk specifically about Bhagavad Gita and what it teaches and so forth. But now, as you know, and as everybody else knows, that Florida governor announced October as Hindu Heritage Month. We wanted to talk about Hindu Heritage Month and about Hinduism first, and then we'll talk about Bhagavad Gita. So Swati, what especially for our young readers and viewers, how do you describe Hinduism and or what is Hindu heritage is all about?
Well, first, I'd like to thank you for inviting me to this forum. I think this is a great opportunity to serve our community and our beautiful cultural heritage by providing this type of education. So thank you for inviting me to participate. So heritage, the word, refers to that which is inherited. In other words, heritage is the collection of values, beliefs, and practices which are passed down from one generation to another. Hinduism is now the fourth largest religion in the United States, with over 2 million people of Indian origin or Hindu ethnicity since at least 2015. This is the latest census that I could find. The 2020 census, I'm sure, will have shown an increase in this number, but clearly this is a significant part of our population. Not just that, but many concepts that are basic to Hinduism have become mainstream in our Western culture. Everybody learns about meditation and yoga. Even my little kids back in elementary school, when they were in elementary school, I can remember their classmates mentioning, throwing around these words, yoga and meditation, even at that age. Beliefs such as the concepts of karma and nonviolence are mentioned in discussions at all areas and all groups and societies, even including the non-Hindus. Words such as namaste and guru and swami have become really inherent in our Western discussions and conversation, in our Western vocabulary. as well. There are many major aspects of mathematics that have their origin in Hinduism itself. We all are pretty well aware at this point of the fact that zero was a creation of Hindu scriptures. And there are a lot of scientific proofs and theories that have their origin as well as in the Hindu Shastras. Even popular games like chess and the children's game Chutes and Ladders, as it's known here in the United States. In England, it's called Snakes and Ladders. It actually has its origin in India and Hinduism. The game Chutes and Ladders was originally developed by a rishi, an ancient Indian rishi, to teach children the values and virtues concept. And when it was brought by the British colonials back to Great Britain, they took that concept and then they commercialized it, like everything else that happens with Western stuff. But at its origin, this popular game has Hindu values and beliefs coming from it. So it's very clear that a lot of our culture, our ancient philosophy and beliefs are becoming and have become endemic to the Western culture. With that in mind, it is gratifying that the United States and a number of states, not just Florida, are now recognizing October as Hindu Heritage Month, are taking this occasion to help us educate non-Hindus as to the actual meanings and origins of a lot of these concepts, some of which have become somewhat misunderstood. You know, the concepts of yoga and meditation are just thrown around left and right, and they're not really understood very well. So it gives us an opportunity to educate others about what those concepts really mean, as well as an opportunity for us to bring ourselves back to our basic culture. It is very easy in this society, in this very hectic system that we are in now, to sometimes get caught up in all the Western stuff. And this is an opportunity for us to also take a step back and say, hey, where are my origins? What are my beliefs? Where do they come from? And how do they make me the person that I currently am? So that is what I see as the importance of Hindu Heritage Month.
Sure. Well, that's well said, well said. If I correct one thing, as far as I know now, the latest study is Hinduism is the third largest religious in the world.
Sure.
You know, right after Christianity and Islam.
Yes, that's in the world for sure. I was really focusing on the US in those numbers, and it may have increased even there because we don't have the 2020 census information yet.
Okay, I missed that. Okay, so I think, you explain, our Hindu heritage, when it started and so forth, very well. So I think, just continue on that thought. You've been involved with the Chinmaya Mission Bal Vihar since long. What some of the questions I get, as a publisher, as a managing editor of a magazine, is that what should we do as a parent, as a teacher, as a community organizer, so that our kids get state interest in a Hindu teaching, the Bal Vihar or whatever you call. So, it's a 2 or 3 part question. Is that one is at an early age, how do you get them interested and they get involved or they get enrolled? And the second is, what should we do so that they stay interested for at least 6-7 years, and then a third, which is more important, is that after they so-called graduate from the Bal Vihar, and when they go to their college and marriage life and so forth, what else should we do so that it stays there, for the rest of their life?
Yeah, so this is definitely a challenge for those of us who have grown up in the United States or are now raising our own children in the United States. There's no doubt about that. I am very fortunate to have become introduced to Chinmaya Mission so early on. And be integrated into a system that really has valued this exact concept, and has developed a systemized way of studying and teaching the children. So one of the aspects, as you mentioned, is how to get them in early. Find the Bal Vihar, whether it's a Chinmay Mission Bal Vihar or whatever aspect you can find the closest to, and take them to it regularly. This is one important part that parents, it's a commitment from the parents' part. You have to get up early in the morning on those weekends when you've been working hard all week and you want that morning to relax. If you want your children to be engaged in this and learn from it, then you have to make the commitment to get up, get them up, get them ready, and drive them there and spend the time that it would take for them to be there. Ideally, you should be learning alongside of them. So getting them enrolled early, making the time for it to be consistent and regular practice for them to continue to attend. And these classes, again, I'm in a part of a system that is very systematic about it, but at the early ages, it needs to be stories. Stories about Lord Krishna, stories about Lord Rama, all the stories, because kids at younger ages are engaged by listening to stories. That is what really pulls them in. Our system, the Chinmay Mission system, actually has active Bal Vihar teacher training. They emphasize to the teachers of elementary school, you must tell a story, not teach it. That is one of the first things Puja Gurudev would write in our Bal Ramayana and Bal Bhagavatam workbooks. Never teach a story, tell the story. Children will get the lessons from the way you engage them into it. If you spend the time telling the story in such a way that you're focusing on the morality of the story, and you're just really talking about the lessons, children are going to lose focus. Their minds are going to wander. They may physically be there, but they're not going to pay attention. However, if you grab them with the story, spend the first 20 minutes just telling the story, make it exciting, act it out. Then you spend 10 minutes, just 10 minutes, highlighting the moral teachings of the story, and do it in such a way that you're asking questions. Don't tell them, pull it out of them. That's going to engage them. Then their mind is going to be actively involved and they're going to come away with information from it. In addition, children at that age love songs. So teach them simple bhajans. Our kids are growing up here in the United States. A lot of them, for them, just Sanskrit and Hindi is not going to pull them. Chinmay Mission actually has a number of kids' bhajans that they've created in English. They've been written in English and kids get pulled into them. I've had parents telling me, emailing me, you taught this child this bhajan. They want to sing it every day at home in the evening. Or if I happen to mention to them a simple English bhajan, just chant it before bed. And my parents will tell me, they make me sit with them and they want to sing this bhajan. Those are the ways to really get them interested and wanting to continue to learn. Another important aspect of stories, and here coming back to Bhagavad Gita, we'll talk about Krishna. There is a real deep reason why we have so many stories of Lord Krishna as a child. There are a lot of symbolic, at an adult level, there's a lot of symbolism there, no doubt. But there's also the fact that children relate to children. When you tell kids these stories of little Krishna, they are immediately able to relate to that mischievous little boy. And when they're able to relate to them, then they want to learn more. Not just that, but they want to emulate Lord Krishna as he grows up. And later on in life, they're going to actually see Lord Krishna as their role model. So they're going to come back to wanting to learn from him through the Bhagavad Gita. So these, and the third component of this is games. Children, young children, not even young children. We play games with our high schoolers, with our middle schoolers. They love games. So that 1 hour of philosophy class has to be broken up very carefully into a lot of fun activities that engage them, that want them to come back again and again. My parents will email me and say, so-and-so was sick this weekend and couldn't come in, and he was upset that he was missing Bal Vihar. To hear that is very gratifying, because that tells me that I've made the classroom environment the kind of environment that they're going to want to come back to and engage in. So that's number one. Number two, how to keep them engaged as they get older. A huge challenge even for us at Chinmay Mission. As children reach into teenagers and adolescents, there are two major factors that happen. Number one, they have more and more mounting schoolwork, pressure from school activities, weekend tournaments and sports activities, all of which eat into their Bal Vihar Sunday time. And number two, the material as they're getting into those years is not just stories. At that point, it starts to become more of a philosophical discussion. That's where you really need the teachers who will attract those kind of kids. What are those teachers? In ideal setting, their teachers are peers that are just a little bit older than them, number one. Number two, again, teachers who are part of their community. Kids and adolescents in particular, is sad to say, they're turned off by aunties and uncles. Their aunties and uncles sound too much like their parents. When you have teachers who are speaking English that is not at the level, not using the same vocabulary, even the accents that teenagers are used to, their mind shuts off. They just don't want to hear it. They're like, these are a different generation. They don't understand me. So one aspect of this, and we actually have a Swamiji, Swami Sarveshanandaji, who explained to us when he first started as a brahmachari and he came to America, he realized he had to learn the TV shows, the music, the culture of the kids here. So he literally spent, he said, about 6 to 8 months watching TV, listening to music, all of this, watching movies, so that when he could talk to these kids, he could talk to them with references that they relate to make it relevant and pertinent to them. I actually asked my own daughter, who is now a 10th grader, she's about to turn 16, this exact same question. And I said, how do we make Bhagavad Gita relevant to you? What would make you want to learn it? And the first thing she said was, make it pertinent to me. Make it so that I can understand how it relates to me. This text that was written 2,000 plus years ago, why is it relevant to me in my generation in this community I'm in? So how do we do that? The trick there is we need to learn it ourselves. We cannot, as parents, take our kids to Bal Vihar and expect that that 1 hour a week that they're spending there is going to instill in them the values by itself, is going to instill in them the love of learning that they're going to carry forward with them. When they hit those teenage years, they have questions. Those are the years that they start to really question everything around them. And their first teacher, their first source is usually their parents, right? Their parents at home. So have those conversations at the dinner table, encourage those conversations, encourage questions. I can remember as I was growing up, my mother, if I asked my mom a question, she didn't know the answer, her usual response was, that's the way we've done it. That's the way my parents have done it. This is what I've learned. That's why we do it. That doesn't work for our kids. You tell them that, their response internally is, why bother? They don't know why they're doing what they're doing, then why am I doing with this? It's not worth it. Their parents are their role models. So when we start to bring these kids to Bal Vihar for them to learn, we need to engage in parent study groups. That is really, really key, very important to keeping them engaged and wanting to continue when they get into high school. My husband, as you mentioned, is also one of the Bal Vihar teachers, and he has been teaching. I've been doing mostly the elementary school kids. Bhavya has been doing the middle school and high school kids. His rate of having kids come to his class, seniors coming to his Bal Vihar class, is triple the rate of the other teachers. Why is that? Because he engages them, because he talks to them about this society, this culture, the challenges they're facing in this climate, and how to work with that within that context. He doesn't sit and say, Western world is not the right thing to do. You have to stick to Hinduism. And I bring this up because I heard that a lot growing up. All of the Western culture is awful. Don't do this. Don't do this. No. If you do that, they're just going to be turned off. So that is the way to keep them engaged in those later high school years. How to get them to come back as a young adult, right? There again, ideally, they need to have had that throughout their years early on. And if that love at that point of wanting to learn Vedanta and the confidence and support that it gives them when they go forward, the support it gives them to be able to tackle their problems as they're going forward will invite them to come back. They need at the college level teachers who are their peers, ones who again understand them, their situation, what they're going through, and are able to relate the scriptures to that, to make it relevant and give them the importance of why they should study. These are challenging ways of approaching it, there's no doubt. And again, we are so fortunate that we have Chinmay Mission that has levels of study group at every one of these ages and stages to be able to attract those kids. That's what it's going to take. It takes a lot of commitment from our own part.
Sure. So, I mean, as you said, it's a challenge, and obviously it's easier said than done, but if the parents don't try, or if the parents do not know some of this, the fundamental things, then they're definitely not going to, the children are not going to get interested. So now, I guess I had not thought about asking this question, but or it was not part of my thought process. And I don't know whether it's a politically correct question or not, but I'm going to ask it anyway. And again, it's not my question. A lot of young parents like yourself, they ask me. I have two sons and 4 grandchildren. And it happens to be, God bless, is that both of them have married to Gujarati, the girls or Gujarati women born and raised in this country. So that is where I was saying that it may not be politically correct, but a lot of parents are asking, saying that what should we do so that my child, my boy or my girl, when they grow up, they married to Hindu. Not that there is anything wrong with marrying any other religion, but still there are a lot of parents, they have a wish, okay, that that children get married to Hindu. Any thoughts?
Well, I think that even if you want to say this is a politically incorrect question, it is just, like you said, a very valid question. And what we have to look at is what is the root cause behind this desire and wish. I will be very honest with you and say that one of the things that my husband and I have engaged in discussion with our daughters from pretty much early teens onward is the importance of having similar values in a family for the family to really be able to stay connected and succeed. And as our daughters were getting older, my oldest daughter now just started college, we started having more forthright conversations about what should we be looking for in marriage? Can I date? Should I date? Those were, various topics that come up. And again, I'm fortunate that my husband and I have been able to keep this conversation open, that we weren't early on shutting things off. When I grew up, the idea of dating, that was not even considered. It was such taboo. I could not have asked my mom this. So I was very pleased to hear that my daughters did actually ask it. And our response in terms of marrying non-Indians, non-Hindus was, your value system, your beliefs, if they don't mesh, are ultimately going to make you miserable. This is a person you have to live with day in and day out. You have to make major life decisions and choices together. And if you do not have the same value system and beliefs, then it makes those decision-making process that much more contentious and difficult to manage. I come from a family on both sides, my husband's side and my side, of multiple mixed marriages. Both of my brothers, I'm the oldest, both of my brothers, having grown up in this exact same environment that you described, Uncle, they both chose non-Indians, non-Hindus to marry. One of them has continued and has been successful in his marriage. The other one is on the verge of a second divorce. Very different situations, right? And I do use those as examples for my girls as a look. These are systems where the values did not mix at all. They did not have similar values at all. And therefore, it was not a family that was able to stay connected and stay together. On my husband's side, he has an uncle who married a non-Indian, very, very staunch Catholic lady, and almost cousin, very, very close friend, family friend, almost like a Masi to him, and his daughter, her daughter, married a non-Indian. And in those situations, their families have stayed together because in the case of his uncle's family, his uncle made the decision to allow, he said, ultimately, the values that this person is growing up with are the same as ours. And therefore, as long as they're being taught the values, that is the key here. In Bhavya's friend's family, the husband actually chose Hinduism. He decided to become Hindu himself, even though he was raised in a Catholic family, because he saw the values and the beliefs and how beautiful they were in that system. And therefore, they continue to study and learn together. Mike is traditionally Catholic, but he attends Vedanta study group with Preeti together, and they raise their kids as Hindus. So having the same value system is so, so important. And you're much, much more likely to be able to find that if you have somebody who has also grown up as Hindu, as you have, than somebody who has not. So that is my approach. We would like for them to marry Hindus. We have encouraged it in that sense. In the end, we as parents have to accept that ultimately their own destiny, what we call vasanas that they came with, will ultimately guide them. And I have to leave it up to Lord Krishna to help them find the right person for them.
Absolutely.
So, from the question that you're asking, you can guide them, you can encourage them. And the important thing here is to really emphasize the positive values as opposed to bringing up the negative reasons for not marrying a Hindu. With the teenage years, the more you focus on the negative, the more likely they are to go in that direction. So if you really focus on the positive reasons for why this is helpful to you in the long run, then they're more likely to latch onto that and have it become an inherent part of them, so that when they go out and start meeting people, it's just automatically part of their personality.
Right, yeah. So I guess on a practical standpoint, how do so I think the topic, obviously is very, very important. I'm getting some, text messages on some more questions like that. Continue on this topic. What kind of activities the parents should get involved so that because what happens is, I know after when they already graduated, and they're coming from a small town and so forth, finding Indian or Hindu person becomes a challenging. So a lot of time people ask, saying that, okay, well, what should we do? Besides the talking about it and so forth, would you recommend any specific activities, or any project the parents, should get involved, or parents should recommend, that the children get involved?
So one aspect of it, we are, like I just mentioned, my daughter just started college. And one of the things we've encouraged her to do is look into the Indian Student Association or the South Asian Student Association over there. Again, with the idea that here you're going to meet more people of similar values, similar backgrounds to help you down this process. In our family, for the past, COVID barring everything else going on, we have been fortunate to be able to attend family camps that are organized by Chinmaya Mission every summer. And we started them regularly when my oldest was about 10 and my younger was 7. And we continued every single year for 7, 8 years. And for us, it got to the point where the girls were the ones. When we said, okay, let's plan this summer, these are the events we want to do. One of their first questions was, when is the camp? Let's work around the camp. Yeah. We want to make sure we want to go to camp. It wasn't just because of what they were learning there. They were making friends there. These were national level camps. They had families similar to us coming every year, and they were actually making friends from around the country with families and kids of similar values that they were looking forward to meeting at this camp. I know of matches that have been set up because, again, with the higher teenagers, the college level kids, meeting others also here at these camps. So whether it's camps like these or other activities, I know Swadhyay was also doing a lot of camps. These type of situations is a great forum for young adults to meet others of their own personality, of their value system and beliefs, and give them a chance to interact with others. This, again, is not easy to do. You have to plan your schedules and the vacations and everything around it. And if you don't have kids who have background already in it like mine do, then they may resist the idea of going there. Sure. Chinmaya Mission actually also was doing, up until COVID, a number of yatras for young adults. So we have very dynamic young teachers who organized almost like treks and these excursions with younger adult groups, usually because they're the ones who are physically able to. And these became opportunities for kids, again, parents weren't there. They were there with this teacher. Everything was organized for them. And it became an opportunity for them to meet, again, others of similar values, similar interests. If you really want your kids with the value system that comes from Hinduism, then you have to engage in forums that have those. It's great to join your local Gujarati Samaj, but a lot of times those kind of activities, and I don't mean to downplay them, but they do tend to lean more towards just the feasting kind of aspect of it and not necessarily bring out the inherent values and the cultural aspect that we want to encourage in them.
Well, one of the things which I was very much involved, when my kids were growing up, is the Garba competition and the Ras competition. As a matter of fact, my elder son and his wife, they met because they were participating in the Garba competition. Because the Garba, that is a fun part, and that makes it easier to get them involved, but not
Yes.
not necessarily only going to Garba and do that, but several cities, they have a Garba competition, that they should get involved. The parents should
I
get involved.
appreciate that you brought this up. My girls were never interested in it, so it didn't come up to me, but you're absolutely right. That is a great opportunity for kids to learn to hang out. They'll meet them, just like you said, initially during these opportunities, and then it gives them an opportunity to continue the social aspect of it afterwards.
Yeah.
So I'm so glad you mentioned that.
Because because these days the colleges, either through India Association or any of them, they've been doing a Bhangra competition and Garba competition and so forth. So that to sometimes mixing fun with the education obviously makes a lot of difference.
Actually, it's key, it's crucial, because at that younger age, fun has to be a very integral component of getting them engaged and interested in wanting to attend.
So now let's kind of go back, that you said that that we need to tell our children, that look for, same values. And so what, now this is the specific kind of a question or specific guidance, which, I'm looking from you to give it to the young kids, or young adults, is that, when they are either friends with each other or they're dating, how do they find out, that, their value system is same? Because, a lot of times when they have a date, they just go out movies, have, dinner, fun, and that's it. What kind of a conversation they should get involved, so that they can find out that our values are matching?
So a lot of times I will say that this is something that is shown more than discussed. It's very artificial to simply strike up a conversation about value systems and try and expect that you're going to get much out of it. My suggestion would be that you start off by these typical dating exercises, sure, but then after that, see if you can encourage them to attend some of the philosophy classes that you have been attending, or come participate in a holiday celebration together as a family. And when you're in that environment, it becomes a lot easier to bring up the topics of the values and start on a conversation about that, in order to kind of feel out, where does this person stand? How do they feel about this? Is this along the lines of what I feel?
Sure. Okay. Well, that's a good point. A very good point. Well, I mean, this is a very interesting topic where we can go on and on, but obviously the time is the essence. So let's sum up this interview, which we talked about Bhagavad Gita. What is the essence, or what is the lesson, which young children and young adults can get out of Bhagavad Gita?
So based on my studying of the Bhagavad Gita, and I have to be, in all honesty, say that I'm still actively studying the Bhagavad Gita, even though it's been so many years, you never stop studying it, right? I would say that to teach the younger kids, the lesson is that spiritual progress is not something you do in the old retirement age. It is something that is right here, right now, in any stage of life that you are at, and you can begin it. And actually, Krishna encourages Arjuna to begin it with action. One of the most misunderstood concepts in our culture is the idea of sannyasi, the idea that, okay, when I get old and retired in my last stage of life is when I should really focus on studying. And Krishna, when you look at the Gita and you start studying it, you realize Krishna is not talking to an old gray-haired individual who is retired and about to, leave. He is talking to a very young, very dynamic, very active householder person, not somebody who has given everything up. And this is where, as you study, you start to learn that the concept of sannyasi is giving up the doership, the ownership of my actions, that I am the one doing it, and instead starting to inculcate in your mind the acceptance that God is acting through me. I am an instrument. And as long as I do what is expected of my responsibilities and duties, he will take care of me. And there are many, many verses throughout the Gita where Lord Krishna repeatedly reminds that you do what you need to do, leave the fruits of the action to me, leave me to take care of the future, and I will take care of you. So for the younger generation that has grown up a lot with the idea that I can study later, I should study later, the message I would say is no, start studying now. No matter where you start or how you start, just start it now, because this will help you through every stage of your life going forward.
Okay, all right, that sounds good. Well, thank you very much for your time. Let's end this one with the Shanti mantra, or Om Purnamadam Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om. Thank you.
Uncle.